Satsang. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we'll be continuing Shri Eknathi Bhagavad, chapter 2, verse 42 onwards. As one who eats food feels with every morsel, satisfied, gets nourishment and relief from hunger, similarly, in him who has surrendered himself to God, number 1, devotion, number 2, realization of Supreme God, and number 3, aversion to other objects. These three are evident qualities manifest at the same time. So in the last satsang, that is in the last verse, we were listening about most important thing, which is being explained, how one sees God in everything, that Atman itself has manifested, and everything, all these entire created universe, the entire created beings, be it animate or inanimate, is on the Lord, that is Sri Krishna's body alone. So everything is his manifestation. He has manifested, that is the Paramatman has manifested itself. That is what we understood, and that is the reason why we have to see God in every being, be it animate or inanimate objects. Now here at the end, what is he saying? He's saying that if you ask how much benefit is derived by remembering the name of Hari, O king, please listen to the secret of it. So here the sage Kavi, I hope you're not forgotten who's teaching this, the sage Kavi is explaining. So now please know that when a man is all the time having the conviction that spiritually all existence is one, and who constantly worships gods or listens or remembers any singings about God, can only be the recipient of full identification with God. That is devotion. Now here we are learning about what are the three important qualities. That's a secret he's revealing. So as one who eats food, feels with every morsel, satisfied, gets nourishment and relief from hunger, similarly in him who has surrendered himself to God, that is number 1, devotion, number 2, realization of the Supreme God, and number 3, aversion to other objects. These three are the evident qualities manifest at the same time. So listen, O the Emperor Janaka, where there is so great devotion, there, like a calf following its mother, apathy towards sense objects follows closely. Means what? What is he saying? See, have you seen someone who's very, very devoted to God and who are learning under the tutelage of the real master, that is the Lord himself, for many years? So what is evident in them? Number 1 is devotion. The kind of bhakti that individual will have is indescribable, because they are very much devoted to the Guru. We learnt about Eknath Maharaj's devotion to his Gurudev Janardhan Swami. What kind of a devotee he is? And who is Eknath Maharaj? Lord Shri, Krishna himself, that is Vittal, Panduranga himself is Eknath Maharaj. And his devotion, nobody can stand that level of devotion. And that is the kind of devotion you need to have. But what I'm saying is that here, the devotee will be very, very devoted to their Gurudev. That's the most number 1 quality. And to the Ishta, that is the Lord Shri Krishna. Second is realization of Supreme God. Means what? They have understood who is this Supreme God Almighty. They have got their experiences. They have realized this Supreme Lord. And the third is aversion to other objects. Aversion to other objects. What does that mean? See, when you come into spiritual and as you evolve, the one thing which will start coming to the real devotees of the Lord is that they will have aversion towards the material worldly existence. Means the sense objects. Anything that you come across, which is pertaining to people, places and things. The same objects which you used to love the most, today you will find everything is aversion. Aversion is, I don't want this, I don't like this. It's not like, but it's more, I don't want it. Initially you might think something. It is all connecting to your desires. But today, the same object which you used to desire, you feel aversion towards it. How does that happen? As you evolve and you become, close to Lord Shri Krishna Bhagwan, the desires become, it becomes desirelessness. And then what happens? Aversion starts coming in. You will not find anything worthwhile in this world. The only thing you will feel worth it in your life is to be devoted to Lord Shri Krishna Bhagwan. Everything else, it's futile. And so what happens? So this is the qualities you will start seeing in the real devotees of the Lord, number one. And then what happens? Apathy. So he is giving an example. Where there is so great devotion, there, like a calf following its mother, apathy towards sense objects follow closely. Apathy means what? You don't care about. Have you seen someone who's very he's full of desires? They are so attached to the sense objects in their life. It could be their family, it could be the house they are possessing, it could be the car that they have, whatever that's there. They go on a holiday, they go on a vacation. They're constantly lost in those desired objects of theirs. That's the sense objects, which they desire the most. And they are so much into it. They are enjoying. The word is enjoyment. They're constantly living in that. And they're so attached to their family, relatives, friends, you name it, everybody. They are attached to people, places, and things. But the same thing, when you look at a devotee, he doesn't care about any of those things. And what happens? He's giving an example. They have apathetic attitude towards the sense objects. They don't care about it. It is there, it is there, it is not there, it is not there. They are not into it, they are not enjoying it. That is the truth. Next, another example is that if there are two fruits joined together as twins, they cannot be separated. Similarly, devotion and asceticism are born together, and the devotee also becomes powerful because of them. So here, what is he saying? Devotion and asceticism are born together. You can't separate them. Now understand, when you say asceticism, it doesn't mean physically giving up things. See, there's a very interesting lesson you need to understand. Krishna Bhagwan did not become an ascetic. He did not say you have to take sannyasa. What did he say? You have to follow the way of life, being in the material world and yet unattached to objects. So what is the three important things he asked everybody to follow, which is dispassion, detachment, and discriminate. So he did not say you have to become a sannyasi or you have to take an asceticism. What it means is you have to live that within you. Even though doing everything in the material world, Krishna Bhagwan was untouched by everything that happened. That is why he is given a representation. How is he represented? By the water untouched. The lotus leaf is untouched by the water on it. Similarly, Krishna Bhagwan, though living in the material world, fulfilling all his duties, was unattached. He was not touched by what was happening. He was neither happy nor sad. He always had an equanimity of mind. He was lost in his own self. He having 16,108 wives, was a perfect celibate. Nobody can be that. But the world will look at how is that possible? That is possible because he's Krishna Paramatma. He's Krishna Bhagwan. He's the Lord Almighty. And most important, he was the purest of the being. And anybody who came in association with him also became divine. Means, I wouldn't say divine in that aspect. Anybody who came in association with the Lord also become pure. It's like the touch makes you pure. That's what happens. Then, where devotion and asceticism or desirelessness live together, there the fulfillment is serving like a maid. This is very beautiful. So when you have the devotion or desirelessness living together, there the fulfillment is serving like a maid. Means what? Whatever that needs to be fulfilled, that thing automatically happens. Serving that devotee of the Lord like a maid. That's what I say. See, when my Guruji doesn't even lift his finger, see, he doesn't have to do anything, nor does he have to say anything. His universe is always around him, serving the Lord Almighty, because they know who he is. But the very sad part is, the people in the world cannot even see this. Leave aside people. Even his own disciples do not give that priority in their life to the Lord Almighty, which is very sad. You don't give that respect to the Lord Almighty, that which he deserves. But everybody in this universe gives him that respect. They're always adheen to him. Means they are subservient. What does it mean? Subservient means they are at his beck and call. He doesn't even call, but they're always ever ready, waiting to serve the command of the Lord Almighty. They are waiting to, fulfill the Guru's command. The Guru is not saying anything, but anybody says anything to him, his universe is always acting on it. That is the greatness of this master. But as an individual, we look at the body of the Parabrahman and we make judgments. We don't even offer him that adequate respect, that which is due to him. We are in Kali Yuga. People have forgotten how to, have this basic etiquettes of life, which is very sad. We have completely gone off the path. We don't know how to behave. We don't know how to speak properly. We don't know how to conduct ourselves properly. The code of conduct is very important. And none of these etiquettes are followed today. Even in your own life, you live like a pig. There is no discipline. What kind of, life are you living? And especially if you have children, finish. The upbringing is terrible. You're not teaching them how to be a good being in this world. You know why? Because you're not setting an example. There was some very interesting thing happened over the, there was we are doing a class, and it so happened that the parent gave an excuse of, the child not attending the class. Now, if you're giving an excuse which is not correct, if it is false, imagine your child is going to follow the same thing. If you lie, your child is also going to follow the same path. The child is also going to lie. So what kind of a example as a mother or a father are you setting for your child? Ask this question. We should never lie. We have to always speak the truth. And that is what will enable our children to follow that foundation, right? Whatever we are setting, that is what the children will also follow. So I was asking my Guruji, how isn't this such a stupid thing to do? Why would you want to lie? What is the harm in saying, yes, we forgot. Yes, this happened. You have to be very truthful. You have to be honest. If you do not care for this knowledge, why will Vidya come to you? Today, the problem in the world is avidya. Everybody is full of ignorance. They don't have knowledge at all. Knowledge is not what you gain in the school and college. That's not even going to take you anywhere. You're not going to gain anything by learning all of that. But the knowledge which is going to empower you, make you somebody fantastic, is the real knowledge. The right knowledge is very important. And when, with the grace of the divine Lord, when you're getting this, and we kick that knowledge out of our life because we don't value. You know how the world follows? They follow a societal created framework. They think the school books which they are studying is some great knowledge. They think all these colleges that they pay big money and go and, study there is going to take them ahead in their life. All you can be is a servant, nothing more than that. It is not going to make you great to become a president of America or to become a president of India. You're not going to become any of those. You're only going to remain a servant, a low class, like a doormat in the company, serving somebody. That is what you are going to. Is that how you set an example? So please understand, first it all begins with you. You should become a role model for your children. First be your good self. Overcome whatever the tendencies you might have. Do not set a bad example for your children. It is only you're destroying their future. Understand this. So coming back. So devotion is the most powerful thing in the three worlds, and when the two things, viz. Devotion and desirelessness, are united, all things are available in the house of the devotee. They are coupled with self-realization. This is so powerful. What is the divine Lord saying here? Devotion is the most powerful thing in all the three worlds. And when the two things, which is the devotion and desirelessness, are united, all things are available in the house of the devotee. What does Krishna Bhagavan say in Bhagavad Gita? I personally provide security to my devotees and my disciples. There shall be nothing short in their home. I will personally fulfill all their needs. It is not your wants and comforts or luxury. He is very clear. Whatever are my devotees and disciples need, I will personally ensure that it is taken care of. So this is the most beautiful thing. When there is devotion and desirelessness, whatever that is required is very much available. You don't even ask for it. It is already there. I'll tell you a very beautiful thing that happened. My car's clutch had worn out a while ago. And last time when I had given my car for service, the service person told me, madam, next time, you need to change the clutch and this is going to cost. It was a big amount. So I said, okay, how long will I be able to drive? How long will it last? He said, ma'am, at least 6 months. Before the next service, we will have to do it. So my service, my car service happened somewhere last year in October, November time frame. And then just 1 month ago, automatically that person suddenly he calls me and says, ma'am, there is an offer going on. I know your car's clutch replacement has to be done. Why not send your car tomorrow itself? I will work out a cost for you and I'll give it to you. Then he gave me a rough number how much it will come to. I told him, you're charging quite a lot. Can you just reduce? He says, plus I will do the full service and send it across. So then he worked out a whole cost and he called me and said, ma'am, I will charge you about, which is roughly 13,000 rupees. I said, okay, fine. I asked Guruji. He said, yeah, send it across. And you know what? When I asked my Guruji's son, I told him this is what he did and this is what he cost. He said, oh my God, it's cost you dirt cheap. Because just the cost of the clutch, the part itself was 14,000 plus the full service was another 10,000. So he said you'd have ended up paying anywhere between 25 grands. And it all worked out in just 13,000 bucks. I did not even say anything. On its own, things work out without even asking, without even, bothering about it. The universe works when you have devotion and desirelessness. When you don't run behind objects, when you don't run behind things, automatically his universe takes care. I didn't even have to open my mouth. It was understood. I was going to do anyway after 3 months. But how the universe works is what I'm saying. When you're completely surrendered to the divine Lord, when you have no desires per se, when you're very contented with whatever the Lord bestows upon you, you're satisfied with whatever life God has given you today and living and doing his service, going ahead in life, working very hard, to serve the world, to do whatever that is asked of you. I'm telling you, everything, the universe takes care. So what does it mean? All things are available in the house of the devotee. There is nothing to be, running after. There's nothing short of anything in my devotee's home. Lord Shri Krishna Bhagavan has said this in Bhagavad Gita and many other scriptures also. He personally takes care of everything. So this is how my car's, the thing happened. That's so beautiful. Imagine, just the part is going to cost about 14,000 and plus service charge 10. All inclusive, I only paid 13,000. How is that possible? It is possible in the world of the divine Lord. But in a human being's world, it's never going to be happening. You're going to pay the full price. You're going to struggle. Why? Because you're attached to that object. It is my car. I have to do this. It is my house, my children. When you completely surrender to the divine Lord, then the universe works magic in your life. But this magic will not happen if you are self-centered. I, me, myself. We cannot think about just I, me, myself. Even today my Guruji was teaching. We are here to do good in this world. Stop only being selfish about only you, your children, your house, your thing. We always have to think, what can we do for the world? The service to the world is the most important thing. And that is when you have devotion with desirelessness, everything the Lord takes care. Whatever are your needs, He provides for it. You don't even have to worry, where is the money going to come from tomorrow? What is going to happen? Who's going to pay my fees? Why are you bothered? How the things happen, it is not in your hands. It is in Lord Shri Krishna Bhagavan's hand. That is what you have to achieve. They are coupled with self-realization. Furthermore, what happens? You also get the self-realization, understanding who you truly are. That also comes along. Then, now I will explain to you the condition when these three things come into existence at one time. The more and more the devotion is developed, the less and less becomes the desire for objects. And at the same time, the devotee is nearer and nearer the state of self-realization. How beautiful it is. What is the most important thing? The first thing that you need to understand, for the devotion to grow, you have to give up your desires. Till you do not give your desires up, devotion cannot come. Why? Because you're still thinking about your material worldly wants, attachments. You're still in that people, places and things. Still you don't give up all that, you can't become devotee. That's the most important thing. Desirelessness is the word. So the more and the more the devotion is developed, so once your devotion grows, the less and less becomes the desire for objects. Your cravings for the objects stops. It subsides. You'll not be bothered about it. And on the contrary, whatever that is required, it will automatically come to you. Even when you don't want it, that things is on its own appearing in front of you. And that, which means you don't have any desire. Then you're not enjoying that object. It is just as Sri Krishna's blessing. It's a blessed food. That is how it becomes. Everything in the world then is offered, He's given, is bestowed upon you by the divine Lord alone. Then it is the prasad which you are accepting. It is not your desire. It is not your want which you want to enjoy with your mind and senses. That doesn't happen then. And at the same time, the devotee, what happens is nearer and nearer the state of self-realization. It is only when you grow in devotion and in desirelessness that you will be able to go near to attaining the self-realization, not otherwise. Then, for example, if a full plate of best food is placed before a hungry man, he eats it and gets satisfaction, nutrition, and also appeasement of his hunger. Each morsel reduces the pangs of hunger. The belly gradually becomes full and his contentment is also complete. Just as all these things take place together, similarly, devotion, desirelessness, and self-realization become evident simultaneously. This is so beautiful. So what is he saying? He's giving a very beautiful example of a man who's very hungry. So as you are very hungry, you're eating. And as you eat, your stomach gets satisfied. It's becoming full. It's contented, it's satisfied, and it's satiated. And then what happens? You're completely in that contented stage. Now, this is a very important state. See, contentment is not feeling happy or, I am unhappy. Contentment means you feel truth. Truth is a very interesting word. It means you're just satisfied with everything that you have in life. Even when you don't have, you are very contented. Even if you have, you are very contented. You're not cripping, or you're not running after, I want this, I want that, or you're not complaining. Oh, I don't have this, I don't have that. There is neither. You're contented with whatever the state is at this moment in time. And you're extremely in that happy state. I'm using the word happy, but it's not happy. It's a very blissful state. We call it Anand. So what happens? Just as these things take place together, similarly, devotion, desirelessness, and self-realization become evident simultaneously. So simultaneously, all these three things come about. But when does it come about? This is a very interesting question. You think it is such an easy thing to achieve? Absolutely not. Do you know how much of process you have to go through? Because to overcome your vrittis is a big thing. Secondly, you have to overcome all your vasanas. Then you know what? You have your desires laundry list. It's like a bucket, a bottomless pit. It's a never-ending list of desires that you have over a period of time. I want this, I want that, I want that, I want that. It's all in you. To destroy that, you think it is so easy? Absolutely not. And for all those desires to go away, first you have to evolve in devotion. To evolve in devotion, what is that you need? Faith. Faith in whom? Your Gurudev. He's the Parabrahman who's sitting in front of you, the one who can destroy your desires. But first, you need to have that level of faith. Number 2, complete surrender. Not thinking that you can run your life. Okay, I am taking care. I have money. I am taking care. It's my life. I know how to handle. Doesn't work. Doesn't work at all. What works in that case is your destiny will work, which is very dangerous. And number 3, unconditional pure love. Not a love which is motivated love. Do you know how we love? We love in a very strange manner. So when you initially come to God, what have you done in your life? Because all along, your parents, your grandparents, the whole society has only taught you that we have to go to God because we want things. Every time you go to God, you have to ask for things. Ask God, God will give you. This is how we have been trained by the world. So what happens? When you come to the Divine Lord, you still have, oh, I want this, I want that, my Guruji will be able to take care. So we still work in that zone. My Guruji said something very beautiful. You know what he said? To my devotees, I'm always looking after their welfare. It is my job to take care of them. But don't ask. You can just tell me, I am having this problem. Telling me means what, you know? His universe is listening. They will take charge of what is wrong in your world and fix it. But you don't have to ask. You just have to state your problem. Asking means you are expressing your desire. I wish my life was better. I wish this could happen. This could change in my life. So never ask, but you can state your problem. You know, just stating it, there is magic happens. His universe will fix whatever the problem is in your life. So don't ask. You know why? The Lord knows what is right for you. Like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa ji said, you know, the mother knows exactly what the child wants to eat. She might have 5 children and each child will like to eat the same fish in a different form. So to one she will feed fish fry, to another she will make a biryani, to the third she will maybe give a fish curry or fish porridge. So like that, your Guru knows what you exactly need. And that which is good for you, he will anyways give it to you. You don't even have to ask. But when you ask, what happens? That is your desire. And when that gets granted, your destiny takes over. But when your Guru gives you on his own, there is no karma in that. It is absolutely pure. It is absolutely sinless. But everything that you get with because of your desire converts into karma. Understand this. Anything that is sought with desire, sought with your destiny, sought with that, comes with a big chunk of karma in it. You don't know what you're going to face after that. So that is why my Guruji will say, you can just state, everything will go, you know, everything will be taken care of, but don't ask. Asking is wrong. Then, after that, what you need to do? You just have to follow the scriptures, follow his teachings. Have absolute faith in your Gurudev. The devotion starts with the word faith. The devotion has to be first to your Guru. He is the Parabrahman. Without devotion to the Guru, you cannot attain devotion to Krishna Bhagwan, because that Parabrahman is Lord Almighty. The God realization which we are talking here, the last thing, is only comes after you have that level of devotion to the Guru, which he is going to explain in the same scripture which we are going to learn. And he says, until the disciple and the devotee does not have the devotion to the Guru, they cannot attain devotion to me. I am waiting at the door of such a disciple who has the highest devotion to the Guru. I am waiting to give them that realization, which is what in Eknath Maharaj's case, when he sees the devotion of Eknath Maharaj towards his Gurudev tells, I have to, now give my disciple the Sakshatkar of Dattatreya. He has to meet my Gurudev. That is called Guru's grace. And that is called self-realization. How does it come? By service. I'll tell you the story another day. It's a very beautiful story. You have to go read about the kind of discipleship that Eknath Maharaj was, to his Gurudev Janardhan Swami. What kind of a disciple he was, what kind of a devotee he was. That is what we have to aspire in our life, to be that to our Gurudev. Next. O King, you should be sure that if with real faith, a person has devotion to God, all these things happen together. Now, devotion means love towards all beings. Self-realization is direct experience of the self. That means tremendous inspiration of our identity with God. This is very beautiful. See, why does my Guruji always keep saying that we have to think about the world? Please understand, till you do not see God in everything, till you do not open up your heart for the world and say, I have to do good in this world, you cannot attain God realization, because Krishna Bhagwan is in everybody. We are here to serve his purpose, which also means it's not just me and my family, but we have to do good in this world. When you serve others, you're serving the Lord Almighty. That is when God realization happens. It's very clear. Now, devotion means love towards all beings. Are you in love with another being? No. Today, do you see the amount of hatred, the amount of venom everybody is throwing against each other in the world, the war, everything is going in a very destructive manner. We are hating everybody. There is no goodness in us. The most important thing, love for all beings. Are we in love with all beings? No. We want to destroy another person. We don't like somebody, coming up in life. We hate, we have avarice, jealousy. We have all sorts of evil tendencies within us. And that is what we have to destroy. And we have to become divine. The divine disposition is what is important, and that is being your good self. That is called the Sattvic Guna. And you have to first become a good human being. So then only you will get. Now, devotion means love towards all beings. Self-realization is direct experience of that self. That means tremendous inspiration of our identity with God. And now about desirelessness. This means the sense that my wife, my son, and my body is the sense of possession. And there is pride also. This becomes totally false. O king, that is desirelessness. How beautifully Eknath Maharaj is described. What is he saying here? What is desirelessness? This means the sense that it is my wife, it's my husband, my son. Is he using these words? My body is the sense of possession. You possess all of this. It's not just the material possession, the possession of people here. It starts with people. Number 1 is people. Number 2 is places. And number 3 is possession. Till you don't give up on all these 3 things, you cannot achieve desirelessness. And devotion will not grow until then. And there is pride. Oh, this is a very beautiful lesson. In this scripture, we are going to do a very important lesson on pride. What is the pride? The moment you have the sense of, the desires, the attachment to people, places and things, what comes in you is the pride. What is this pride? Pride is that, oh, I am a great person. I am an Indian. I am a South Indian. I am a North Indian. I am an American. I am a European. We have this pride about who we are, where we are born. That pride is detrimental. You cannot have pride about anything in life. I am so and so. I was working for IBM. I was working for Rolls-Royce. What is this pride? Working for what? And that brand, you think you're some great person? No. The pride should not be there at all. I love to say this story over and over and again. Eknath Maharaj, when he's doing seva to his Gurudev, like I said, he was cleaning the place where Janardhan Swami would go for his nature's call, early morning, the toilet place. And that place he would so beautifully clean, and put the cow down properly over there. And also, he will make that rangoli in that colored powders. He'll make that place so beautiful. And then Janardhan Swami was shocked. Never did he ever utter even once that I did this, Gurudev. The I did this causes the pride to come in you. And what happens? The moment that pride comes in you, your ego rises. Oh, I am some great person, I have done this. We want acknowledgements. The one thing which the Guru will never do is give you that credit. Acknowledge that you have done a good job, because it's detrimental. The moment he says you have done a good job, you have actually fallen down. Your ego has taken over, the pride has come in you. I am some great person. So my Gurudev will never ever praise The moment you want his praise, then you don't even have to be in spiritual. You can actually go in your material world. You know, in the material world, people give you false praises just because they want some work done from you. They will say, oh, you're such a great person, you're so good at this, oh, your food was tasting nice. It's all fake. Means nothing at all. My Gurudev will not praise. On the contrary, he will always say, you can do much better. And that is the way. So the moment the pride comes in, understand it's your clean route to, I don't know what, a hell, I can say. So don't ever entertain pride. There is a very big lesson on pride. Then, and there is pride also. This becomes totally false. O king, that is desirelessness. Thus, in the mind of the devotee, when there is real faith, the word is what? Real faith. Not just for the heck of it, I have faith. But I'm also thinking, how will this happen? Faith, not even minus 1% you have. These three things come into being as 3 in 1. Thus, in the mind of the devotee, when there is real faith, these 3 things come into being as 3 in 1. And do you know how long it will take for you to get there? You have to ask yourself, what level of faith do you have in your Guru and God? What level of faith you have in whatever is teaching and you are applying in your life? Ask yourself this question. Therefore, O king, devotion to Hari is essential for our own emancipation. Kavi, the sage, said this finally. So finally, what is required? Therefore, O king, devotion to Lord Shri Krishna Bhagwan is essential for our own emancipation. There is no other way out. Kavi, the sage, said this finally. That's the ultimate thing. Till you don't have the devotion, you can't go anywhere. So with that, we have finished verse 42, chapter 2, verse 42 we have completed. So in the next satsang, we will start from verse 43. Thank you for joining Sri Eknathi Bhagavad Satsang. Have a good day and good evening to you all. God bless.
Recording stopped.